Very good morning and a warm welcome to one and all present over here, teachers. Thank you so much for joining on another Super Sunday workshop. And this time we're getting into an important area of discussion. This is called as adolescence. Adolescence, this is definitely not categorized under the topic of adolescent education. It's going to be from a very broad spectrum, and that's how it is supposed to be addressed. We'll understand by the end of the session that why this age category is very, very important and why is it very important in this particular generation. Now, when we talk about adolescence as a term, it is something to denote with the age category of 10 to 19 as per World Health Organization. However, when we talk to a few neuroscientists out there, the people who really study the brain metabolism and the way it develops, they say that an adult is an adult only after probably the age of 24 or 25 years old. So there's going to be a lot of speculation around this whole term called as adolescence and the way we talk to them more than the way we talk to them. Why do they talk to us like that? Now, when I say us, it's important for us to understand us as well. So it's all about the focus area of a certain age category. Predominantly, people term this in the teenagers or difficult age or whatever it is. But this session is going to give you a lot of insights on what exactly is adolescence all about. Coincidentally, this is the time where a series in Netflix called as Adolescence is actually gaining a lot of traction, and a lot of people are watching it and understanding that it's really not about one particular child's development from self-initiations. It's actually there are multiple stakeholders in the involvement of development of a particular child, maybe the physical development, maybe the moral development, the social development, or even the emotional development for that matter. That's why they very nicely say that it takes a village. I'll repeat it. It takes a village to raise a child. It's just not about the parents. It's not about the teachers. It's not about the students or the friends. It's the complete surrounding and the environment that the child is exposed to. We're going to talk about all these things. And if there's a teenager listening to this, I really request the teenager to make a note of all the points that they're generally not aware about and take actions according to that. Things are not always negative, it's really positive as well. Today's session will give a very good clarity on that particular area. Before we start, I would like to share my screen in a few seconds. I think you should. I hope my voice is audible and clear, teachers. If yes, then you can put a yes on the chat. And I would like to welcome all the teachers who have been consistently joining and joining for the first time, to Super Sunday Workshop. This particular platform is basically made or formulated somehow accidentally, I would say, that specifically to talk to the educators out there in the country, to give an exposure to the world education system, Indian education system, with a lot of perspectives and comparisons. This session will not be more oriented towards knowledge of an individual or opinionated in any manner. This is going to be completely spoken from the evidences and documents, especially from the Indian ones, the National Education Policy or curriculum frameworks or CBSE's guidelines and multiple other aspects. Well, today's topic is not really influenced to a large extent from Indian documents because there are not many. There are really not many. It's like maybe we have not done the research properly, but we couldn't find many. So let me share my screen, teachers, and talk about it in another 10, 9. I think you should be able to see this. Not really 10 seconds. Come on. It's a Sunday. The laptop doesn't feel like opening up probably today. Come on, you have to. Yeah. So here we go. In 3, 2, and 1. Great. You should be able to see the screen anytime soon. Now, this is called as adolescence. You'll understand why it is not categorized under adolescent education. And we've done a separate session on adolescent education also, which you can find on YouTube. Super Teacher official channel. You can subscribe to it. Our team members are putting the links on the chat right now. Some teachers have reported in the last few sessions that the sessions seem to be quite fast. There are a lot of chances that that's absolutely true. Or a lot of things. Absolutely true. We really hurry a lot during Super Sunday workshops in order to cover a lot of things in a short span of time. So we humbly request you to watch the video at a slower speed if possible. We have great support. And now let's begin with the session. I think you would have already understood it takes a village to raise a child. By the time most of the teachers out there are somewhere the parents as well. When you understand the parenthood, it's not just about like whatever you teach in the school, whatever you teach at home, coincidentally cannot be really applied all the time outside because you say that no mobile phones or no TVs, but the children when they go to the school they find that their friends are always exposed to mobile phones and TV, and the children are back again and like Nikita's mom allows her to use mobile phones all the day, why not me? So it's important for the parent of Nikita as well to know that mobile phones are not really suggested at a certain age category. Social media is not really suggested at a certain age category. So this exposure of knowledge, and I would say parenting, is not supposed to be confined only with one home or one teacher. It is a collaborative effort of a village. It's like the complete society out there. And is it possible to really talk to each and every member in the society? You would have already understood that during your PTMs or parent teachers meeting, every parent has got their unique traits and characters. The way they look at life, the way they look at their children's development, it's completely different. In fact, different than what you think is right. So it's very important for a teacher, being as a teacher, to have the right exposure and knowledge about the right parenting. So apart from being a social studies teacher and the value system that you have for yourself, it's important to understand that they are not at all applicable for a different era of students. It is like there are a lot of times when a teacher gets on a spat between themselves and the students. It's like one of the statements that very commonly told by the teachers to the students is, "Do you think you're really smart? I have seen more days than you." Something like that. Maybe that's the underlying meaning, and it's kind of not at all advisable. Definitely, you have not seen those days. You have not seen the days where the children are, currently exposed to. In fact, this particular generation has got its own name. So let's first understand that particular aspect. What exactly are we talking about? So adolescence is the transitional phase of growth and development between childhood and adulthood. The World Health Organization, WHO, defines an adolescent as a person between ages 10 and 19. Many scientists or educators or clinical psychologists do not agree with this completely. They say that it takes at least 24 to 25 years of age for myelination to happen. I'll repeat it. Myelination, Myelination. What do you really mean by myelination? We'll quickly understand in a few minutes. But the point is the maturity of a brain to have control over the actions. Typically, it's still 24 or 25. Maybe that is the reason they say that it's the right age to marry, or it's the right age to take your own decisions or something like that. I do not know. You need to speculate about it. But let's understand that from generation point of view. So let's understand generation teachers. I think predominantly many of you know about it, or you would have heard these terms. Which one do you fall under? You need to tell me in a few minutes. Baby boomers are the people from 1946 to 1964. The people who are born in that particular age category. No, sorry, the year category. And the age currently must be in 2025, 61 to 79 years of age. The people who just got retired from their government jobs. Very hardworking people, value stability, face-to-face communication is what they really like, and they're mostly retired or senior most school leaders. Do you fall under baby boomers? You can say yes on the chat if you are. Anyone out there? No one? Baby boomers? Okay, let's go with the winner. Yeah, you're right, Vasundhara ma'am. Let's understand Gen X. Gen X is the category where the people who were born is 1965 to 1980. Okay, 45 to 60 years of age. I think many people fall under this category, Gen X. Yeah, so independent, very independent, skeptical, not always sure about things, resourceful, heavily, they've read a lot. Digital immigrants, it's like just now they're exposed with the new technology called as mobile phones and find it very difficult to handle it. I think school principals, senior teachers, I'm really sorry to be judgmental about the current role in schools over here. It's just an exaggerated, non-scientific answer out there. I might be terrifically wrong. Please don't mistake me. But current role in schools, just just to understand the age, we put over there. Then there's something called as millennials, Gen Y, 1981 to 1996. The people who were born in this time frame, who are currently 29 to 44 years of age, they fall under this category. This is the place where you've seen both the era of pre-digital and post-digital advancements. It's a very difficult area to be in. And I'm speaking so much because I fall under this category. 29 to 44 years, tech savvy, collaborative, feedback seeking. Yeah, to a very lovely, like more good listeners. Let's talk about all the positives because I can see many people are there in this category. Yeah. Gen Y, millennials, right? Right, right. You belong to Gen Z. Okay, coming to the next one. So they are current teachers, young parents, probably like in their 30s, 32, 33. In few days will not be like 90s kids, would have already touched 30 years of age. I think 99, we're already like hardly 4 years. That's it, we're done. So next is Gen Z. Very, very important. If there is a teacher under this category, today it's all about you. 1997 to 2012. people who fall under 13 to 28 years of age. These people are called as digital natives, socially aware, entrepreneur in their thought process, anxious most of the time. Senior students, young teachers, you're all Gen Z. If anybody's there in Gen Z, you can put on the chat again. So Gen Z, yes, many people. Okay, okay. These are the people who have done their B.Ed without, liking the subject B.Ed. Like, just because I need to become a teacher, I need to do this B.Ed. Because my Gen Y and Gen X people have made a rule. I don't have an option, but they're angry about it. Something like that. Gen Z, yeah, 97 to 2012, 13 to 28 years of age. People who think whatever we're doing is definitely absolutely useless, but still we're doing something like that. Again, I'm exaggerating. Not everyone is in that category. Gen Alpha. Yeah, we'll talk about Gen Alpha in another scenario. Very important age to be spoken about. People who are born after 2013. Somewhere I personally believe the most unfortunate set of children are this particular category, because there's like still research going on the right parenting styles for this category. Students throw tantrums a lot. The exposure to content which is not at all biologically age appropriate to a large extent. It's going to be a very difficult for Gen Z and Gen Y. If you have a child right now, bringing up them or raising them in this era, it's quite a task. Yeah. Anyways, Gen Alpha, we'll talk about them a little later. Hyper digital, visual learners, short attention span. In fact, these people also are called as iPad generation. This one or Gen Z, I'm forgetting. I think it was Gen Z or Gen Alpha, iPad generation. Like, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You can just put it on the chat. Yeah, iPad kids. And primary and middle school students, somewhere like till 8th standard, 7th standard. Yeah, anyways, 2013 to 2029. Generation Alpha is already here, very close. So this is with respect to understanding generations. These terms are very, very important for us to know things around, because when you research about all these things, you don't really directly get adolescence. You need to put these terms to get better research outputs. So let's go forward. So let's understand this. Some of you must be like, before that, is there anything else? Well, this is it. So first one is lost generation, 1883 to 1900. Predominantly people are not there right now. They've passed away. Greatest generation. Greatest generation and GI. So greatest or GI generation. So GI is basically called as government issues. I'll repeat it, government issues. The US military force termed that word. So greatest GI generation fall under the category of 1901 to 27. This is greatest and GI for one reason, that they are all the people who served in World War II. Yeah. So like 1901 to 27, if they're born, so probably their age categories, like at the time when they were soldiers, predominantly lost, like a lot of them. So that's why government issue generation, yeah, somewhere, or greatest generation. Then you have got something called a silent generation, like 1928 to 45. Just understanding the world. The colonialism across the world stopped right after 1950s. Gradually, countries started becoming independent, voicing out became more, rebels became more. But the point is, they're like, I am thriving. I'm on this earth. I'm grateful for that. That kind of a generation is 1928 to 45. Probably the parents of many Gen X and Gen Y people, if I'm not wrong. You would have already seen that their parents, they generally don't talk too much about life. They've seen so many things that they don't really can't speak, Yeah, I was fortunate to speak to a few people who were like 100 plus years of age, and it was quite a common scenario in our village. Baby boomers, baby boomers is a fantastic thing, and they're like 1946 to 64. Just now their birth, like, probably, yeah, your parents. Then you've got Generation X, 1965 to 80, which we continued. Millennials, 81 to 96, 97 to 2010. And this particular term of 2013, 2020s, and there are slight variations across in various countries. It's not always the same thing, plus or minus two. Correct, something like that. So this is that category. Let's go forward and understand. So today it's all about Gen Z. Gen Z is basically this particular age of 13 to 24, 25, yeah, or 28 max, something like that. So here there are 5 domains of development that we have always been listening to in all the Super Sunday workshop. These are the 5 ones. Like the first one is physical. Of course, we're not talking about the language development in this area. So at this particular age category, the children attain the puberty. Not all of them, but predominantly in this age category, they get into it. It's like there are a lot of hormonal changes, growth spurts happen, the physical development happens, secondary sexual characteristics like the hair growing and the muscles building, and there are a lot of growth in height and weight on a sudden scale. a lot of aspects from hormones point of view, and secondly, sexual characters coming at this particular point. And this is the time when they really get agitated, like they don't understand what's happening, and they don't even want a reason for it. It's like they have an escape mechanism. So identifying that and saying them, hey, you've become a big boy, man. That itself is a wrong thing, as per the suggestions by All for Ed. We'll talk about All for Ed a little later. Sleep pattern completely shifts. I mean, they sleep a lot comparatively, and they need more rest. They become restless, ironically, during the daytime. So that's physical development. Right after that, you've got cognitive development. Very abstract, logical, and critical thinking emerge at this particular point of time. Risk taking increases due to immature prefrontal cortex. Now, what do you mean by immature prefrontal cortex? We're going to talk about it. Develop personal values and ethics. This is the time when they decided for themselves. Emotional, they have intense mood swings, struggles with identity and self esteem, easily overwhelmed by emotions. You talk nicely to them, they think you're the best friend. You talk a little harshly to them, they think you to be the enemy. If it's a parent or a teacher, they don't really care. Okay, okay, okay. You're raising the children. Social peer influence becomes dominant. It's like they learn from the surroundings, from the people across, and they idealize people in this age category. Who is your role model? When it was asked to my school days, and to me, I didn't have an answer. I didn't even know what's called as role model. Probably a little bit I knew, and we used to say Mahatma Gandhi ji or Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, but it was not with deep sense. But interestingly, when you look into the current generation students, they name people like Elon Musk. Name people who are currently existent right now. So that's like peer influence becomes really dominant at this particular time. Finally, moral and ethical, very difficult to answer the questions. They begin questioning rules and fairness. They form independent opinions and they think it to be right, which could be right in many cases. May challenge societal norms and values. They don't want to follow the rules. Sometimes the rules are stupid, so they better don't follow. Now, what are those? What are good? What are bad? It is up to the teacher and the parents to decide. So these are the major overarching developments that happen under this age category. Let's go and understand quickly what are the opportunities that these people have. Now, right after this, we'll understand the signs of adolescence. Here in this case, you can see that Gen Zs have got unique opportunities, 13 to 28 years, and Gen Y's limitations. So we are trying to compare us, the teachers, right now, predominantly with most of you said you are all coming under Gen Y or millennial. Here, Gen Z, what do they have that we don't? And why are we not the right people to judge them? Look at this. Technology access is immense. We are just learning how to use a phone even now. But they grew up with smartphones, high-speed internet, artificial intelligence, and cloud tools. We didn't have internet. Internet was a luxury for us. Now, for us, dial-up speed is all about the ability to search something. You can't really find the right answer using technological advancements that we used to have at that time. We used to watch a complete movie on Nokia 2700. It used to be a very small phone. We still are happy about playing games like Snake and Ladders or Snakes for that matter on phones. Forget about Snake and Ladders. Candy Crush, Hill Climbing Race. These children don't like it. Anyways, let's go forward. So mobile tech emerged in their teens. Global learning. They have got free access to global courses. You might know that the children actually speak about, I didn't understand this particular topic, so I don't really want to ask you. I'll better go back and look into some really good course and understand it better. So they're not really going to look into your classes much. They're not happy about your teaching many times and they don't express that. Why? Because they have an opportunity to learn again. Just talking the negative aspect, but not all the time this is true. Some of them are like, no, sir, YouTube is very boring. Everybody's speaking the same thing in the same manner. Can you teach something different? They want physical interaction. I've seen some people, students like that. I'll repeat, some students. Careers were more traditional and degree dependent. I'm pretty sure many of you are having. Anybody who is having a running degree right now, even right now, in Indira Gandhi National Open University or Alagappa University or Kamaraj University, we can put on the chat. Even now, you believe that you have to do your post graduation. MTech is very important. MSc is most important. Anything like that? Or anybody's like, forget about anybody else. My running post-graduation course is happening in Indira Gandhi National Open University. I'm doing my MA English even now, believing that it's really important. So career flexibility, and we are all degree dependent. Trust me, it's useless. Early skill development can learn artificial intelligence, coding, design, public speaking as young as 10. As young as 10. Now, that was not possible for us. That was not possible for us. In fact, we believe right now, if artificial intelligence is taught to grade 1 or 2, it's a stress to the students. Grade 1 or 2. We think it's a stress. Why? Because we presume that this is very complex. Because it's complex to us. Well, that's not true. Yeah, that's definitely not true. See, skills often taught only in higher education for us. Voice is amplified early. Yeah, right now the children speak about rules and regulations too early. It's like social media gives platforms to express, influence, create change. So they're like, I have my opinion, it's my wish, it's my choice. If I say the same thing, it's my choice to my home, I'll get very nicely from my parents. But getting nicely from parents is not the choice right now. It cannot be the same type of parenting. That's wrong. Just because we got nicely from our parents, maybe verbal or physical, doesn't mean the same thing is applied for current generation students. A point to be underlined. Had to wait to be qualified to be heard. This is a very good point. Whenever I speak something, my teachers used to be like, first you do that and then you tell the others, something like that. But these days, students are hardly. Hence, miss. Understand the last five. AI and automation. They can partner with AI, example, ChatGPT, to create content faster. They had to do everything manually. We had to do. Even a PPT making right now, though there are AI tools, I'll still believe that most of us are dependent on manual work. We're like, let me do it aram, say, take my own time, only then I'll understand. These people are not like that. They're able to learn fast, and at the same time, they're able to give the output fast. That's a good thing, right? Entrepreneurship. Start online businesses with little capital. They have so many platforms. When I say online, literally technology coming into play, they can start anything they want and they start earning before even they turn 20. I'm pretty sure in your surrounding, in your school, there are children who already started their YouTube channels, who have become influencers on a positive and a negative manner, could be, and they have already started earning. Earlier, the driving factor for somebody to earn was education. It's like you get educated, you'll be able to earn more. You can't say that now. Yeah, the students are really smart. So start a business required funding, networks, and paperwork. Let's go with gamified learning. Learn through augmented reality, virtual reality, gamification, immersive apps. So many things are to teach the same concept of photosynthesis and light. But back in our days, we had the same NCRT book. Probably if you go outside, you'll get MBD guides a little bit, or together with a little bit, something a little extra. That's it. And we used to really feel precious about it. Wow, I got extra information. I'm going to learn more than my peers or something like that. Well, that's not the case anymore. Mental health awareness. Very, very important. So we come under the category where our mental health was totally ignored. We were never heard. I mean, people did not even know about a term called as trauma. I remember there used to be a term called as therapy, THER. It is a term right now. Therapy is like for the first time when I heard about it, I'm not embarrassed to speak about it because it's the case with many 90s kids out there. Like the moment I heard the word therapy, I thought it is some eatable. I'm like, what's its recipe? Something like that. But the day when I came to know therapy is actually a process of talking to someone to know and understand their mental wellness and treat them, not with just medication, but with mental exercises. It's an important area. You'll not believe therapy as a term is pretty common among the teenagers right now. Everybody knows what's trauma. Everybody knows what's therapy. I forget about all these things. They know what is healing. HEALING. What is healing? For me, healing is like I was playing cricket, I fell down, my leg hurt, it's bleeding. I apply a little bit of soframycin, and that's healing. That's all I know. But mental healing, mental health is a term that the children are pretty well aware about. Let's understand the next. Global citizenship. Now, right now, they don't really talk about what's happening in their society at the nearest exposure. No, they're completely global. That's something called as like climate change. They know about it. Like students are literally coming on the roads fighting for climate change. Revolutions are happening. You know that. Inclusion. Inclusion means inclusive education, inclusive opportunities, inclusive professional opportunities again, like in the games or sports, wherever. All these politics of caste-based system, etc., etc., they're slowly moving away. This particular generation is changing it. That's an amazing step, right? So more, climate change. And here they talk about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion from early age. What do you mean by even inclusion? I understood that right after my college days only. These were college level discussions before. In fact, I still remember the maximum topic of discussion during my school days, which was really interesting. Was my English teacher giving us an opportunity to have debate. It'll be like boys versus girls. Who is better? This is the maximum level of topic. But today the topics for debates are also really interesting. They talk about climate change, they talk about sexuality, they talk about masculinity, femininity. There are a lot of terms that are coming into picture. And forget about teenagers. We are also learning along with them. The problem is they're learning faster than us and which are not able to bear. And we think we are smarter just because we are a little old. That is the complication of Gen Y. Nobody's listening to us. Exactly. Let's go forward. Let's go forward. So now we come back to the scientific reasons of all these things. Why does it even happen? So it's a very important explanation I think many of you might know about. So myelination is the process where myelin, it's a fatty substance. We're not getting into too much of biology over here, but if anybody can explain on the chat, the other people can read about it. It forms a sheath around nerve axons. So basically, whenever there is a information passing from one nerve to another, there is a bridge called as synapse, basically a gap. With regular practice, that really becomes very strong. It just holds each other very strongly. That means next time you really don't have to take too much of efforts to do the same process again. So it's like I'm riding to my bicycle. The synapses are like that. The neurons are like this. They're trying to come together. I learn a little bit. I learn a little bit. I learned a little. I have learned very well. Now it's very strong. Nobody can take this out. Yeah, it's very difficult to forget how to ride a bicycle because the synapse is bridged, right? Now, these nerve axons, nerves, they have a protective layer around them, which helps the signals to pass from one nerve to another in really a fast-paced manner, if I have to put in a layman's language, and that's called as myelination. So it's like insulating them and speeding up the transmission of electrical signals. It's crucial for brain development and function, enabling rapid and synchronized communication across different brain regions. Now we're going to talk about that. Myelination occurs throughout the brain, from early prenatal development through adolescence, and its completion is essential for optimal brain maturation. Remember, this myelination happens perfectly to a very large extent only after the age of 24 or 25. I hope you got the point. That's the reason people do not really believe 18 is the right age of adult. No, you're not. You need to be really old, 24, 25. I was just married exactly at 25. Myelination got completed. I got married. Now let's understand the teen brain in the form of myelinations and two important terms called as prefrontal cortex and limbic system. I would request you to please watch this video, teachers. A very important and a nice video. It'll give you very good idea, and post that, let's continue the session with its explanation. Here we go.
It's not easy being a teenager. There's the angst, the emotions, the raging hormones. And although hormones do play a big role in puberty, the brain is going through a lot of changes too. Neuroscientists are learning that some of the most puzzling teenage behavior may actually have some real benefits. Legally, you're considered an adult when you turn 18, but from the neuroscience perspective, your brain is really still developing.
And the current literature suggests that it's about around age 25 or so is when the brain finishes the period of adolescence.
This is Dr. Adriana Galvin, and she runs the Developmental Neuroscience Lab at UCLA. The brain develops from the back to the front, so the prefrontal cortex is the last region to fully develop.
The prefrontal cortex is the part of the brain you need to make good decisions, to think about the future, think about consequences.
You can kind of think of it like the Spock of the brain, logical, calm, and collected. And then deeper in the brain, there are these emotional systems like the limbic system that are more interested in immediate gratification. They're sort of like Captain Kirk, a risk taker and a bit emotional. During the teenage years, the limbic system develops really quickly, and the prefrontal cortex is trying to catch up. Eventually, as individuals become adults, the prefrontal cortex will increasingly have more influence over behavior than the impulsive part of the brain. So, without a fully developed prefrontal cortex, you can kind of see why teens might be more impulsive, or just worry less about future consequences. Another brain region that's really active during adolescence is this thing called the striatum, and it's a key part of the brain's reward system. Let's say you find 20 bucks on the street, or someone gives you a cookie. The striatum goes off, and it releases dopamine into the brain. Adriana's lab discovered that the teenage brain is super sensitive to different rewards like sugar and money. Way more than in the brains of adults and children. And all this activity in the brain's reward center, it may actually serve a purpose.
We asked teenagers to come to the lab and we scanned their brains while they performed a learning task. They were shown a picture of a butterfly and two flowers, and they were asked to guess which flower the butterfly would land on.
After each guess, they were given feedback. When the teens got it right, their striatum would get really active.
They would learn over time that the butterfly preferred one flower over the other. And everybody learned this task, but what we found is that the adolescents learned it more quickly than adults and with greater accuracy.
So, having this reward center that's hyper responsive to feedback actually helps teenagers learn from their environment. But this same region of the brain is also connected to risk taking. Data from Adriana's lab suggests that teens with a more reactive striatum are more likely to engage in risky behavior and to enjoy it.
Rather than ask how you keep your teenager from taking risks, because we know the brain is really oriented towards risk during this time, it's better to ask, how do I provide opportunities for healthy risks?
Like trying out for the school play, even if you've never acted before, or asking someone out on a date. Those are real risks to a teenager, but they're not the kind of risks that parents typically worry about.
It makes sense from an evolutionary perspective that there's a time in life when teenagers want to become more independent, seek out new opportunities. In the animal world, this would translate into looking for new food resources or foraging behavior. And in teenagers, it often manifests as risk-taking behavior and simply moving away from the family unit.
Teenagers are going to make mistakes, but they've got this brain that's encouraging them to learn and explore and push boundaries.
So adolescence is a really special time, and I think we don't appreciate enough their energy and their ability to lead and motivate, and how excitable they find life in a way that we maybe don't later in life.
Our brains keep changing throughout our lives, and researchers at UC Berkeley are learning that if you give people a little bit of power, it can have a big effect on the brain. Learn more by watching our video here, and be sure to subscribe for more Figure 1.
So that's a video by University of California, and quite a important insight that we got out there. So with respect to the child's teenagers and adolescent brain over there, it's all about the two system called as the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. Now, when you talk about the prefrontal cortex, it's something there right in front part of the brain, and it is responsible for actions. Now, importantly, limbic system is something that can take time. You have a control over it to control the prefrontal cortex. Now, prefrontal cortex generally is very impulsive in nature. A child is looking at the mobile phone and taking it up to throw it in case if they do that. It's out of pure impulsive reaction. Now, right after throwing it, they might predominantly realize what they've done is wrong. Well, already the message was passed by the limbic system to the prefrontal cortex. Like whatever you're about to do is actually wrong. But by the time the message comes to the prefrontal cortex, the mobile is already launched. I hope you understand. So for throwing the mobile phone, there is going to be small sense of regret. And that regret is the gap between the limbic system and the prefrontal cortex system. So it's important for us to understand that many a times the actions taken up by even a toddler who's like 2 or 3 years old, even a teenager, it's not really completely because of something that they want to do. It's just that it occurred into their mind and they were so impulsive that they just did that. So for somebody to have a proper control of what their actions is supposed to do, they need to take time. And for that time to happen, limbic system has to really get properly molded, and the prefrontal cortex has to be really completely developed, which happens at the age of 23 or 24. So it's important to know that they will not listen, even if they want to. So if there are teachers out there, my parent, my students are not listening, my child is not listening, welcome. That's how the brain is functioning. Yeah, you can't really do anything about it. So the one thing that you can do is channelize that energy, distract them from real distractions, something like that. So for that, let's quickly understand few scenarios, and then we'll understand about something called as gratification, and that will be the end of the session. So here, let's understand one of the scenarios where the eye-rolling rebel, there's a child, okay, basically during class, a 14-year-old student, probably in 8th or 9th standard, rolls their eyes, sighs loudly, and mutters under the breath when corrected. Muttering, that generally happens even by us, especially when you can't really raise the voice. You're there at home, your mother-in-law is there, your father-in-law is there, your husband is there, or your wife is there. You are really angry, but you can't express it loudly. So you'll murmur, something like that. That's muttering. So typical reaction, stop being disrespectful. If you don't want to learn, get out. It's exactly like, if you don't like this home, just get lost. Unfortunately, we come from millennials and Gen X, right? We won't leave the house. They're like, whatever happens, we'll stick here. If it's Gen Z, or I would say Gen Alpha future, I don't think so. There'll be a house. My husband, but you be there. I'll be in my home. Something like that. I don't know. I'm exaggerating. Well, stop being disrespectful. If you don't want to learn, get out. You can't say that. That's a typical reaction. This is problematic because this response escalates the situation, embarrasses the student, and makes them shut down further. They'll not really express it. That muttering is a form of expression. It's important for the teacher to understand and take the right action. What's the action? Pause and later say privately, I noticed you seemed frustrated earlier. Want to talk about what's bothering you? This builds trust and models emotional control because you've called privately, right? And what's really happening is adolescents' prefrontal cortex, responsible for judgment and impulse control, is still developing. Emotional outbursts and defiance are more reactive than intentional. So that happens. In fact, there are many teachers who've been telling the parents when he was in 4th or 5th standard, he used to be such a good boy or a girl. Yeah. Now he's totally indisciplined, something like that. That is like that's obvious. That's obvious because he's grown up. Yeah. So we need to understand that. Brain chip is that there. So this amygdala is basically the emotion center coming under the core part of limbic system is hyperactive. They need regulated adults to help co-regulate, not mirror their chaos. Sometimes people believe that like whatever actions they do, let me repeat the same thing on them so that they realize how it feels to others. No, that doesn't work like that. It's not like every action has got equal and opposite reaction with respect to the emotional development. It's completely a misconception. So we're not supposed to do that, it seems. It's a neuroscience talk that I'm talking about. It's there in all for red. We're going to talk about it. Scenario 2. There is another important area that the children will, you might have seen this. A once chatty 13-year-old has suddenly withdrawn, avoids eye contact, and seems emotionally numb. They're no longer submitting work on time. They stay away. There could have been a problem like in the home or at school with the friends. Typical reaction would be you're being lazy. This kind of attitude won't get you anywhere. Come on, that child doesn't want to be lazy. There's something that's bothering. Why this problem? This overlooks silent mental health struggles like anxiety, depression, or emotional overload. Unfortunately, these are the things that the current Gen Z are experiencing. Yeah, the teenage students or adolescents for that matter. So the right approach is I've noticed the change in you. I'm here if you ever want to talk. Anytime. Follow it with consistent check-ins without pushing. Like don't be like, come to the staff room, meet me, let's talk. No, nothing like that. Just gentle touch. They might come or they might not even come, but that's okay. Probably you could ask your counselor to have an indirect approach to make sure that the child is coming and talking to you. Something like that. Yeah. So adolescents experience intense hormonal shifts, social pressure, self-image concerns. Withdrawal can be defense mechanism, not laziness. They want to be famous at this time. And they were famous sometime, but somebody replaced them suddenly. They don't like it. They're like, what's gone into me? There's some problem. Something like that. The brain science tip is stress and cortisol levels in adolescents are often higher than adults realize. They may lack the language to express what's going on inside. In fact, these stress levels go so high, especially during the time of gaming or sometimes, some societal pressure of. Now, when I say societal, it's not about adults, it's about their own age category. To be famous, to be known, to be recognized that I'm one of them. I'm one of those guys in the class. You need to talk to me, Those pressures leads to heart attacks as well. And there are cases even in India. Let's not get into the details of that, but you can Google about it. The rule breaker genius. So basically a bright, curious 15-year-old, basically a 10th standard student probably, questions every rule, tries to hack assignments and challenges your authority constantly. He's so-called notorious or somebody whom you can't really control is this particular category. You think you're too smart? Just follow the rules like everyone else. That's the typical reaction. Or this is the time when the children is acting really smart, or if they're doing something really smart that actually surprises you, you try to get on par or on the same level of the students and try to do something that will beat them. Obviously, you will definitely beat them. You've got more experience and things like that, right? But unfortunately, that's not the right solution. So the people say that what's like they shut down creativity and sends a message that questioning is wrong. However, what's really happening is adolescents are developing abstract thinking and identity. They're exploring autonomy and testing boundaries. Autonomy in the sense they don't want to be instructed. They want to take actions on themselves. Before you tell them to study, they would have actually planned to study. If you tell them, like you study right now, they're not going to listen to you. The interest in that activity of study is going to be completely taken away. So it's better to not really advise them, or advise them in a manner that's indirectly communicating the message. Figure it out. How to do, I don't know. Not always to rebel, but to understand. Now, right approaches, I appreciate your curiosity. Let's discuss where rules come in and where we can be flexible. Encourage constructive dialogue. Well, the brain tip is the dopaminergic system. The dopaminergic system, which always like, I want rewards sort of a system. In teens is very active, meaning they seek novelty and stimulation. They thrive when given autonomy with accountability. They really like it. That's why project-based learning in this age category works really well. The students have their own choice of what they want to do, and they do a great job. They do a great job. Like rechannelizing the energy, right? Yeah. Tap on that dopaminergic system. Let's go to the last part of the session. Finally, coming to the last part of the system, right now with the advent of technology, adolescents and teenagers are exposed to a saying that, if you can get something right now, get it and be happy about it. So that's where gratification comes into picture. Instant and delayed gratification. I would like to quickly play the last video of the day called as the marshmallow test. Well, it is more appropriate towards early childhood days, but the results of that kind of a behavior really forms a person in future. So let me quickly play this video and share this. I think you should be able to see it in 3, 2, and 1. Okay. So that was with respect to something called as the marshmallow test. So basically it was all about the children who are able to control their urge of having that marshmallow out there. It's like if you have it right now, it's like you can have it. You'll get only one. But if you wait for some time, I'll come back and get another one. So you need to wait for that. So the children who were able to wait, they were okay with delayed gratification. They waited for better results, bigger results. And this was around 40 years back, the marshmallow test was done. And by Walter Mischel, by the way, you can actually Google about it. We did this in one of the sessions called as SEL in the past. Well, interestingly, what really happens is right after the marshmallows test, it was found that the students or the children who were able to have the delayed gratification were really successful in life, not only from the perspective of professionalism and their economic background, but also from the perspective of handling decisions. They were more peaceful. But the student who had instant gratification, they were not so peaceful. Read about it a little more. So finally, coming to the next part. Now, with respect to the last aspect of the session today, and that's if we punish the behavior without understanding the trigger, we miss the opportunity to shape the person. An important understanding or a takeaway is if we punish the behavior without understanding the trigger, punishment is not wrong, but punishment is definitely wrong without understanding the trigger. We miss the opportunity to shape the person. Are you really here to shape the person, or really angry and you don't want that person existent in this world? Something like that. So it's a very deep statement out there, and it indeed takes a village to raise a child. I'd like to stop share the screen right now, which brings me to the end of the session, teachers. So this particular topic was not really about how to teach them. It was more about understanding adolescence, and that itself is a big deal out there. For all the teachers out there, I would like to sincerely, request you to please read about adolescence, and there are a lot of documents out there. One of the documents that helped me really shape today's session was from Journal of Child and Adolescent Behavior, and it's quite an interesting document. I'm going to share that on the chat right away. It talks about science of learning, what educators need to know about adolescent development. It is by Alliance for Excellent Education from United States. So let me share. It's hardly 18-page document to give us a brief understanding on the brain development, the identity, the relationships, and the agency. We did not touch upon a lot of topics like the mental behavior related to masculine energy or feminine energy with respect to sexual behaviors, with respect to exposure to social media, and lot others right now in this session, because it was all about introduction to adolescence. The rest of the things are very different and difficult. We'll understand in future sessions, in future Super Sunday workshop. That brings me to the end of the session, teachers. Thank you so much for joining regularly, consistently. It really gives a lot of encouragement for all our team members to research more and more on important topics that the teachers must be aware about. Thank you so much for being present today. I'd like to meet you again with another interesting and a super topic relevant for today's area in the next Super Sunday workshop. Until then, thank you to everyone. Jai Hind. Thank you so much, teachers. Thank you, Ruth ma'am. Thank you, Krutika ma'am, Devasmita ma'am, Pushpalata ma'am. Thank you so much. Varsha ma'am, thank you so much. Tamanna ma'am, good to see you over here back again. Thank you so much, Meera ma'am. Thank you, Ram Subramaniam sir, Archana ma'am, Deva Manogari ma'am. Thank you so much. Nandri, Rashmi ma'am, Sugamaheshwari ma'am, thank you so much. Masuki ma'am, good to see you after a long time. Suruchi ma'am, thank you. Deepika ma'am, thank you so much. Vinny ma'am, good to see you here again. Thank you, Seema ma'am. I would like to request all the teachers out there to talk about these sessions to your fellow colleagues and other school colleagues, probably friends. Spread the information about Super Sunday workshop. Just imagining having a session every Sunday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., talking to at least 1 lakh teachers regularly. We're bringing a lot of innovations with Super Sunday workshop, eventually teachers. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Goes without saying. Thank you, Ruth ma'am. Thank you so much. Means a lot. Great. It's time for me to complete. I would like to request everyone, thank everyone to join on every Sunday. It's one day that you get for relaxing yourself. Consider Super Sunday Workshop to be just one of the elements of regular updates and upgrades. Yeah, you can wash your utensils and passively listen to this. You can have your cup of coffee and just enjoy listening. First of all, enjoying is not the right word, probably. It's not so enjoy friendly, I guess, but still knowledge friendly for sure. I'll see you again next, teachers. Spend time with your family. Have a super Sunday. Bye, everyone. Thank you, Ruth, ma'am.